Freefall Position. You lie face down, wrap your arms around the pillow, and turn your head sideways just to keep breathing. It may feel secure, but your neck is paying for that comfort. And the real problem is not the pressure on your stomach. It is the twist running through the rest of your spine. Your body wants the head, ribcage, and pelvis to stay reasonably aligned. Freefall breaks that line. Because the mattress is directly beneath your face, the neck must rotate to one side for hours. The cervical vertebrae turn while the chest remains flat, leaving one side of the neck shortened and the other stretched. Think of it as parking your head sideways while the rest of your body keeps facing forward. Then the mattress adds a second problem. The pelvis and abdomen can sink downward, increasing the inward curve of the lower back. A thick pillow makes the chain even worse by lifting the head and forcing the neck farther backward. You may fall asleep comfortably, then wake with stiffness that feels as though someone quietly tightened every bolt overnight. Stomach sleeping generally gives the spine less support and can place extra stress on the neck, back, and shoulders. Now imagine someone who always wakes with pain on the right side of the neck. They replace the mattress, stretch every morning, and blame the office chair. But every night their head spends hours turned to the right. That is the callback. The pain may not begin after waking. It may be rehearsed all night. Freefall does have one possible advantage. Lying face down may reduce snoring for some people, because the tongue and soft tissues are less likely to fall directly backward into the airway. But that benefit does not erase the mechanical strain, and stomach sleeping is not a treatment for sleep apnea. If changing positions feels impossible, use a very thin head pillow or none at all, and place a small pillow beneath the hips or lower abdomen to reduce the arch in the lower back. The long-term goal is to train towards side sleeping, not to fight your body in one night. Freefall may feel like surrender, but your spine never gets to relax. Left side sleeping. You roll onto your left side, and gravity quietly rearranges what happens inside your chest and abdomen. The biggest change is not in your spine. It is at the junction between your stomach and esophagus. Your stomach sits mostly on the left side of the body. When you lie left side down, the stomach's contents tend to remain below the opening into the esophagus. Acid now has to travel uphill to reach the throat. Think of the stomach as a tilted bottle. Turn it one way, and the liquid settles away from the cap. Turn it the other way, and the cap sits closer to the pool. That is why left-side sleeping can reduce nighttime acid exposure in people with gastroesophageal reflux disease. Research comparing sleep positions has found that the left lateral position can shorten reflux episodes and improve nighttime symptoms. But here's the part people oversimplify. Left-side sleeping is not automatically the best position for every organ, every pregnancy, or every person. Imagine someone named Maya who wakes with a burning throat whenever she sleeps on her right. She switches sides and the burning settles. The change feels almost magical. It is not magic. It is anatomy using gravity. During the second and third trimesters of pregnancy, side sleeping is generally preferred over lying flat on the back. But the left side is not the only acceptable side. Current obstetric guidance says either the left or right side can be used. Pillows between the knees or beneath the abdomen may improve support. The downside is pressure. Hours on one shoulder and hip can create numbness, aching, or a collapsed waist that bends the spine sideways. A pillow between the knees helps keep the pelvis level. A pillow thick enough to fill the space between the head and mattress keeps the neck from hanging downhill. Left side sleeping does not make digestion magically faster. Its real advantage is simpler. For reflux, it puts gravity on your side. Starfish Position. You lie flat on your back, throw both arms above your head, and spread across the mattress like you own the entire ocean. It looks relaxed. But the shoulders decide whether it actually is, and the real clue is not how much space you take up, it is what your arms are doing after hours above your head. Because you are lying on your back, the spine can stay relatively neutral when the pillow and mattress support you well. Your weight is spread across a wide surface instead of being concentrated on one shoulder or hip. But raising the arms changes the shoulder joint. The humeral head, the ball at the top of the upper arm bone, rotates and shifts inside the socket. For some people, that position feels open and comfortable. For others, especially those with shoulder impingement or rotator cuff irritation, keeping the arms overhead can reproduce pain or disturb sleep. Shoulder impingement symptoms commonly worsen with overhead arm positions and may become more noticeable at night. Think of the shoulder as a golf ball resting on a shallow tee. Lift the arm, and several tendons must slide through a tighter space without getting irritated. Now imagine someone who wakes with tingling fingers and assumes they slept on the hand, but the hand was never underneath them. The arm stayed overhead for hours, placing sustained tension or pressure around the shoulder and nearby nerves. That is the callback. The numbness may begin much higher than the fingers. Starfish also keeps the disadvantages of back sleeping. In people who snore or have obstructive sleep apnea, lying flat on the back can allow the tongue and soft tissues to fall backward and narrow the airway. Side sleeping is generally better at reducing positional airway collapse. If the position feels comfortable, there's no need to panic. But if you wake with shoulder pain, numb arms, or repeated tingling, lower the arms and support them with small pillows so the shoulders are not hanging at their end range. The starfish looks completely open, but your shoulders may be spending the night trapped. Arm above head position. You fall asleep with one arm folded above your head, as if your body quietly surrendered halfway through the night. It may feel effortless, but your shoulder is being held at the edge of its range for hours, and the real clue is not where the hand rests. It is where the tingling begins. When the arm stays overhead, the shoulder remains elevated and rotated. The rotator cuff tendons and nearby tissues must sit in that position long after the muscles stop actively controlling it. For someone with shoulder impingement or irritated tendons, overhead positioning can reproduce pain and make nighttime symptoms worse. Think of the shoulder as a ball balanced on a shallow saucer. It moves beautifully, but it depends on muscles and soft tissue to keep the ball centered. Now hold that system near its limit until morning. The arm also carries nerves and blood vessels through a crowded passage between the neck, collarbone, and first rib. In people prone to thoracic outlet compression, lifting the arm can worsen pain, numbness, tingling, heaviness, or weakness, because those structures have even less room. Imagine someone who wakes with a dead hand and shakes it until the fingers come back online. They assume the wrist was bent, but the problem may have started near the collarbone. That is the callback. The hand reports the symptom, while the shoulder or upper chest may be creating it. This position is not automatically harmful. Many people sleep this way without pain, but repeated numbness, weakness, swelling, color change, or a cold hand deserves attention rather than being dismissed as sleeping funny. The simplest adjustment is to lower the arm and support it on a thin pillow or folded blanket, keeping the shoulder closer to a neutral position. That small support can reduce strain instead of leaving the arm suspended overhead. Your hand may be resting above your head, but the pressure may begin much lower. Log position. You lie on your side with both legs extended and your arms resting straight down. It looks almost too simple. That simplicity is exactly why it can work. And the real clue is not whether your body looks straight, it is whether the mattress fills the spaces underneath that line. Side sleeping can keep the airway more open than lying flat on the back, which may reduce snoring and positional airway collapse in some people. The spine can also remain relatively neutral, but only when the head, waist, and pelvis are properly supported. Think of your body as a bridge resting on 3 pillars: the head, the rib cage, and the hips. If the head pillow is too thin, the neck drops toward the mattress. If it is too thick, the neck bends upward. Meanwhile, the waist may sag into the gap between the ribs and pelvis, creating a sideways curve that lasts for hours. The body looks straight from across the room. The spine may be folding underneath. Now imagine someone who wakes with pain on the outside of one shoulder every morning. Their back feels fine, so they assume the position is healthy. but nearly half the body's weight has been pressing through the same shoulder and hip all night. That is the trade-off. The log position supports alignment, but it concentrates pressure. A mattress that is too firm may compress the shoulder and hip. One that is too soft can let the torso sink and twist. The arm underneath may also become numb if it is trapped beneath the body, rather than resting slightly forward. A pillow between the knees can stop the upper leg from dragging the pelvis forward. Keeping the lower arm in front of the chest instead of directly underneath the ribs can reduce pressure on the shoulder and nerves. Switching sides may also help when one side becomes sore. The log position is not healthy because it looks perfectly straight. It works when the spaces beneath that line are supported. Elevated upper body sleeping. You raise your head and chest instead of lying completely flat. It looks like a small adjustment. But gravity changes sides. And the real clue is not how many pillows you stack. It is whether the entire upper body rises as one supported slope. When the torso is elevated, the stomach sits lower than the esophagus. That makes it harder for acid to travel upward during the night. Head of bed elevation has been shown to reduce nighttime reflux symptoms in some people with gastroesophageal reflux disease. Think of the stomach as a bottle with a loose cap. Lay it flat, and the liquid reaches the opening easily. Tilt the whole bottle upward, and gravity pulls the liquid away. But stacking pillows under the head alone can miss the point. The neck bends forward while the chest stays flat. You may wake with reflux that barely improved and a neck that feels folded like a pocket knife. A wedge pillow, adjustable bed, or raised head of the bed supports the torso more evenly. Now imagine someone who wakes coughing with a sour taste in the throat. They add 3 soft pillows and keep sliding downward until the chin is pressed toward the chest. The head is higher. The body is not truly elevated. That is the callback. The angle must begin below the shoulders, not only beneath the skull. Elevation may also help some people breathe more comfortably, but it is not a replacement for proper treatment of obstructive sleep apnea. Positional strategies can help selected cases, while established sleep apnea may still require therapies such as CPAP. The downside is sliding. If the angle is too steep or support is poor, the body drifts downward. The lower back rounds and pressure builds around the hips. A gentle, stable incline works better than turning the bed into a ski slope. Elevated sleeping is not about piling the head higher. It is about lifting the whole pathway acid is trying to climb. Fetal position. You lie on your side, pull your knees toward your chest, and curl inward like your body is trying to return somewhere safe. The position can feel deeply comforting, but comfort depends on how tightly you close the circle. And the real clue is not that your knees are bent. It is whether your chest, hips, and spine still have room to move. Because this is a side sleeping position, it may keep the airway more open than lying flat on the back. That can reduce snoring and may improve positional sleep apnea symptoms in some people. With the right pillow and mattress, the spine can also remain well supported. Think of the body as a folding chair. Fold it gently and every hinge rests. Force it shut, and the hinges stay compressed until morning. When the knees are pulled too high and the chin is tucked hard toward the chest, the upper back rounds, the hips remain deeply flexed, and the rib cage has less room to expand. That does not mean the position cuts off your oxygen, but an extremely tight curl can make deep breathing less comfortable and leave the hips, knees, or back stiff when you wake. Now imagine someone who sleeps 8 hours but needs several minutes each morning just to unfold. Their knees ache. Their hips feel locked. They assume age is the problem, but every night their body spends hours packed like a suitcase. That is the callback. The fetal position is not usually the problem. The clenched version is. A better setup is a loose curl. Knees comfortably bent, chin neutral, and shoulders relaxed. Place a pillow between the knees so the upper leg does not drag the pelvis forward. Make sure the head pillow fills the space between the ear and mattress, instead of letting the neck collapse sideways. Side sleeping is also commonly preferred later in pregnancy, although either side can be acceptable depending on comfort and medical guidance. The fetal position should feel protected, not compressed. Curl enough to rest, not enough to trap yourself. Side sleeping with a hug pillow. You lie on your side and pull a pillow against your chest like it might escape before morning. It looks emotional. But the real benefit is mechanical. And the key is not the hug itself. It is what the pillow prevents your upper arm from doing. Without support, the top arm often falls across the chest toward the mattress. That pulls the shoulder forward, rotates the upper spine, and leaves the muscles between the shoulder blades working against gravity for hours. Think of the upper arm as a heavy gate. Without a stop, it keeps swinging forward. The hug pillow catches it before the shoulder follows. Now imagine someone who sleeps comfortably on their side but wakes with a tight chest and an ache between the shoulder blades. They blame the mattress. But every night, the top arm hangs forward like a weight from the shoulder. That is the callback. The pain may not come from the side underneath. It may come from the arm on top. A pillow held in front of the body supports the forearm and helps keep both shoulders in a more symmetrical position. Side sleeping guidance commonly recommends keeping the arms slightly in front of the body rather than twisted or raised overhead, but the pillow can also become the problem if it is too thick. Push the arm too high and the shoulder hikes toward the ear. Grip it tightly all night, and the forearm muscles may wake up feeling as though they spent 8 hours carrying groceries. Choose a pillow thick enough to fill the space between the arms without lifting the upper shoulder. Let the forearm rest on it. Do not crush it like it owes you money. A second pillow between the knees can also keep the upper leg from rotating the pelvis forward. The hug pillow is not there to replace a person. It is there to stop your shoulder from chasing the mattress. Right side sleeping. You turn onto your right side, settle into the pillow, and everything feels almost identical to sleeping on the left. Almost. Inside your abdomen, gravity has changed the angle, and the real clue is not which shoulder touches the mattress. It is what happens to the acid inside your stomach. Your stomach sits mostly toward the left side of the body. When you sleep on the right, the junction where the esophagus enters the stomach can sit closer to the pool of stomach contents. That can make it easier for acid to reach the esophagus and remain there longer, especially in people with nighttime reflux. Research comparing sleep positions consistently finds less nighttime acid exposure on the left than on the right. Think of the stomach as a bottle lying on its side. Rotate it one way, and the liquid settles below the opening. Rotate it the other way, and the opening moves closer to the liquid. Now, imagine someone who sleeps peacefully for the first half of the night, then wakes with a burning chest and a sour taste in the throat. They blame dinner, but the symptoms appear almost every time they roll onto the right. That is the callback. The meal may load the stomach, but the position can decide how easily the contents climb back up. Right side sleeping still keeps many advantages of side sleeping. It can reduce snoring compared with lying flat on the back, and with the right pillow support, the spine can remain relatively neutral. Some people with certain heart conditions also report feeling more comfortable on the right, although the best position depends on the individual condition and medical advice. The mechanical downside remains pressure. The right shoulder and hip carry the load for hours. A pillow between the knees helps stop the upper leg from pulling the pelvis forward, while the head pillow should fill the space between the ear and mattress. Right side sleeping is not unhealthy by default. But if reflux keeps waking you, gravity may be pointing you toward the other side. Half stomach sleeping. You start on your side, roll halfway forward, bend one knee, and somehow stop before becoming a full stomach sleeper. It feels like a compromise. But your spine may be twisting in two directions at once. And the real clue is not the shoulder touching the mattress. It is what the upper leg is doing to the pelvis. In this position, the chest turns partly toward the bed while the hips remain closer to side lying. If the top knee drops forward without support, it drags the pelvis with it. The lower back then rotates while the shoulders face somewhere else. Think of your spine as a wet towel being wrung from both ends. The position may reduce some of the direct neck strain of lying completely face down, especially if the head is not forced into a full 90-degree turn. But it can still leave the neck rotated, the lower back arched, and one hip flexed for hours. Side or back sleeping generally makes neutral spinal support easier than stomach-based positions. Now imagine someone who wakes with pain near one side of the lower back. They stretch the spine, massage the muscles, and blame the mattress. But every night, the same knee falls across the body and pulls the pelvis forward. That is the callback. The twist may begin at the hip, then travel upward. The shoulder underneath can also take a hit. As the chest rolls forward, the lower arm may become trapped beneath the ribs or pushed above the head. That can leave the shoulder compressed and the hand tingling by morning. The fix is simple. Place a firm pillow beneath the bent upper knee so the pelvis cannot collapse forward. Hug another pillow to support the top arm and chest. Keep the head pillow low enough that the neck stays aligned instead of being cranked upward. Half stomach sleeping is not truly half the strain. It is often a side position quietly turning into a spinal twist. Soldier position. You lie flat on your back, arms resting at your sides, staring at the ceiling like someone placed you there for inspection. It looks rigid, but for the spine, that symmetry can be useful. And the real clue is not whether you are lying straight. It is whether your head and lower back are actually supported. Back sleeping spreads body weight across the head, shoulders, rib cage, pelvis, and heels instead of concentrating it on one shoulder or hip. With the right pillow, the neck can stay aligned with the chest rather than twisting sideways for hours. Think of the body as a train parked on one track. Everything faces the same direction, but if one section loses support, the whole line still bends. The lower back is where that often happens. When the legs remain completely straight, the pelvis may tilt forward and increase the arch beneath the lumbar spine. A pillow under the knees can relax that pull and help preserve a more comfortable curve. Now imagine someone who falls asleep perfectly centered but wakes with an aching lower back. They assume back sleeping must be wrong for them. Then they place a pillow beneath the knees. The spine did not need a new position. It needed one missing support. But soldier position has a different weakness. The airway. When you lie on your back, gravity can pull the tongue and soft tissues toward the back of the throat. In people who snore or have obstructive sleep apnea, that can narrow the airway and increase breathing interruptions. Side sleeping is often better for positional sleep apnea. A pillow that is too high can also push the chin toward the chest. One that is too flat can leave the neck overextended. The goal is not to build a mountain under the head. It is to keep the ears, shoulders, and chest in one calm line. Soldier position can make the skeleton look perfectly organized. But alignment only works when breathing and support stay in formation. Yearner position. You lie on your side with both arms stretched forward, like you are reaching for something that never made it into the bed. It looks gentle, but your shoulders may spend the night being pulled out of neutral, and the real clue is not how far the hands reach. It is whether the upper arm is supported. Side sleeping can help keep the airway more open than lying flat on the back, and the spine may stay relatively neutral when the head and hips are properly aligned. But the outstretched arms change the upper body. When both arms drift forward, the top shoulder can roll toward the mattress, and the upper back can rotate with it. The muscles between the shoulder blades stay lengthened for hours, while the chest muscles remain shortened. Think of the shoulders as two doors. If both handles are pulled forward all night, the frame begins to twist with them. Now imagine someone who wakes with a deep ache between the shoulder blades and tingling in the lower arm. They blame the pillow under their head, but the problem may be the pillow they are not using. That is the callback. Without support in front of the chest, the upper arm keeps falling forward while the lower arm may become trapped beneath the body. Pressure around the shoulder and elbow can irritate nearby nerves, leaving the hand numb or tingling by morning. A simple fix is to place a pillow in front of the torso and rest both forearms on it. That keeps the shoulders more level and stops the upper arm from dragging the chest into rotation. A second pillow between the knees can keep the pelvis from twisting in the opposite direction. The pillow should support the arms, not lift them toward the face. Too thick, and the shoulders shrug upward. Too thin, and the top arm still collapses forward. The Yearner position looks like reaching outward, but good support keeps your shoulders from being pulled with it. Which sign surprised you most? Tell us in the comments, and stay tuned for the next video by liking and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching.